What Culture? My name is Simon Miller. I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my damn heart for tuning into this episode of Ups and Downs for Raw. Now, the problem with this episode for Ups and Downs is Raw is that WWE, they came over to the UK this week. Raw did indeed come from Manchester, but apparently nobody thought to actually write a script or write a story for what should happen on Raw this week. And my word, it was incredibly boring. And I know that's not the best way to start a video, to tell you that we're about to go through a boring show. But look, if I found it boring, my word, everybody else must have been bored to tears. But look, let's just go through it. Let's see what happens. Let's up those downs. Raw started with Baron Corbin talking for a long-ass time. Down. The real issue here is that when WWE was recapping the Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar match from Crown Jewel, once again, they forgot to make it clear that the idea for this contest was Braun Strowman was never allowed to get out of the gates because he'd been smashed in the back of the head with the Universal title because of Baron Corbin, and Brock Lesnar took advantage of that. I didn't take that away at Crown Jewel, and I didn't take that away from this recap package. It just looks like Brock Lesnar utterly destroyed Braun Strowman, who's meant to be the next big thing. Irony. Anyway, Baron plugged Survivor Series and all the matches that are going to go down, and then put his focus onto the traditional 5 versus 5 matchups. And he did indeed announce some of his team. He's going to be the captain, but he ain't wrestling. And his first 3 participants will be Braun Strowman, and we'll get to that, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler. It was then revealed that the captain of the women's team for Raw will be Alexa Bliss, but much like Baron Corbin, she ain't going to be wrestling either, and that's far more worrying, because you've got to imagine that ties into her concussion issues. We all hope she gets better soon. But she basically said the Riot Squad will be taking on Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya again to see who deserves a spot on the team. Now you start to see why all of this got down. Things picked up when Kurt Angle's music hit and he walked down the ramp and said, look man, I am fired up from Crown Jewel and I want to take on you, Baron Corbin, and the winner gets to be the captain of the Survivor Series team. That was kind of cool, but as we'll talk about later, it weren't exactly peaches and cream. Anyway, eventually Strowman came out and he beat up all the security guards that were surrounding the ring, and he beat up some of the wrestlers who were standing on the stage, and when all was said and done, this just went on for a really long time. And then, of course, during all this, Baron Corbin just ran away. It also got confirmed here that on next week's episode of Raw, Stephanie McMahon will return to address the Shane McMahon situation. And, you know, as Shane McMahon has come up, are you feeling hot? Anyone else I'm feeling a little bit hot. I'm feeling a little bit hot, so I'm just going to take off this jumper. I'm wearing 2 jumpers. Who needs to wear 2 jumpers? I got a brand new jumper. Just going to do a little tiptoe here so you can see. Never forget, ladies and gentlemen, never ever forget. And I realise I'm going to come across like an asshole here, but if something don't work, something don't work. So everything that WWE did with Natalya, Sasha Banks and Bayley taking on the Riot Squad, well, it's getting it down. The idea here was that Natalya was going to go to the ring wearing her father's sunglasses as a tribute to her dad who recently passed away. So you know what the Riot Squad did? When Natalya had Liv Morgan or Sarah Logan, whichever one it was, in a sharpshooter, Ruby Riott got those sunglasses and she snapped them in front of Natty's face. She was really upset, but the really weird part was there was no finish to the match. There was no conclusion. Maybe I missed something here, but Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Natalya all just cried at ringside as the Riot Squad sauntered off back the ramp. It was so bizarre, even the fans counted the Riot Squad out. They were going 1, 2, 3, because the ref apparently quit his job halfway through this match. The sentimental concept absolutely could have worked, but instead, this just became, well, it was just confusing. I was just confused. I didn't know what this was meant to be. That's why it gets the down. Some segue bits next as Strowman walked around backstage looking for Baron Corbin, and it was confirmed that yes, Triple H did indeed tear his pec at Crown Jewel, and he's going to need surgery on it and may actually even miss WrestleMania. They didn't say that. That's my worry. We'll have to wait and see. And then we go 3 for 3 with the downs as we transitioned into Apollo Crews taking on Jinder Mahal. Are you kidding me? Down. Now, I like the fact that Crews won convincingly after a standing moonsault. If you're going to push the guy, push the guy. But getting this match after everything else we've seen, it fell completely flat. The fans didn't care. And it was just really very bad booking on behalf of WWE, because this, like, structure Well, it kind of sucked. I am going to give the Seth Rollins stuff an up though, and I already know that's going to be a controversial opinion because some dude tweeted me earlier saying, I'm only watching ups and downs this week to see what you give everything with Seth Rollins and the Authors of Pain and Dean Ambrose, and I'll be very upset if you liked it. Well, I did like it, so you're upset with me, get enough. Rollins came out, said Corbin was an absolute dick for screwing over Braun Strowman at Crown Jewel, which meant he undid all of Roman Reigns' hard work, and said, look at all these belts I'm wearing, because for once, he was actually wearing the IC Championship, and he was wearing both tag titles. It made him look like he was an utter success. Said he also had a bit of a conundrum because he didn't know how he was going to defend all of these belts by himself before Big Boy Baron appeared on the big screen and said, shut up Rollins, you don't know what you're talking about, you can defend them all, and you're also going to defend those tag team titles right now in what was basically a handicap match against the AOP, the Authors of Pain, and the AOP won. They're the new tag team champions. Now, was this out of nowhere? Yes. Would it have been better if the AOP could have beaten someone like Drew and Dolph, given they had a long run? Yes. But let's not worry about it. At least we put the titles on a proper tag team that I think are about to be pushed to the moon. Plus, it was another title change on the UK Manchester show, which is kind of becoming a bit of tradition because a year ago, AJ Styles bested Jinder Mahal to win the WWE title. And when you remember that, my word, as Jinder just tumbled off a cliff. There was also good afterwards as well because Dean Ambrose came out and essentially him and Rollins both shouted at each other, why? So why did you do this? Why did you do that? And I was sat there going, these mother hubbards and their gimmick infringement, but it's okay because they're both awesome. Then Ambrose, boom, gave Seth Rollins a DDT or a Dirty Deeds. We still don't know what the deal is here, but I'm invested. I like it. Up. Another up too, because at least WWE then started to have fun with this Braun nonsense. Oh yeah, up. Corbin was hiding in what I think was a storage cupboard, and yet somehow Charlie Caruso knew where he was, and she started to interview him. But like a silly little bean, Caruso said, why are you hiding in this storage cupboard? To which Corbin went, you gave away my place, you know, Braun Strowman knows where I am. And then in about 3 milliseconds, Braun Strowman was there. I mean, it was dumb, but at least it was fun dumb. Strowman did bust in there and destroy all the security guards, including one dude who held onto his leg as he tried to stop Braun. That was quite funny. That was entertaining, finally. A little bit of light. Yet more bizarre stuff next because we shuffled the deck yet again, because now apparently Elias is feuding with Dolph Ziggler, and I thought Elias was feuding with Baron Corbin, but that wasn't even mentioned on this week's episode of Raw. What is going on? Down. It started with Dolph coming out and saying that once again he'd been screwed, and he did make some good points because one, Drew McIntyre was banned at ringside in his final World Cup match at Crown Jewel, and also the referee was indeed from SmackDown, don't forget, who won that World Cup, Shane McMahon, best in the world. Elias then arrived, he was a hoot, and the fans absolutely loved him, and because of that, he gets an up. He even played Seven Nation Army of his guitar as all the audience sang along Walk with Elias to that tune. That was nice. Also said he was going to reunite Oasis, and obviously being in Manchester, everybody cheered that. And then he just beat Dolph Ziggler with a drift away. Huh, that really was just it too, and the match was okay, but it went a little bit long, and I spent most of it going, I can't figure out why we're doing this, or what is happening. It's like we completely shifted gears over the last 7 days, but nobody sent a memo out to explain to us, the people that watch it, what was going on. Ronda Rousey promo followed though. Was just nice and simple, and the crowd was really pleased to see her, and Ronda said at Survivor Series she's going to take Becky Lynch's arm and not only rip it off, but essentially also told us that she will kill the SmackDown Women's Championship in a couple of weeks because she said, I am a natural born killer, therefore I'm naturally going to go and murder people. I added that bit in, but that's what I took away. I also think Rousey said that when she was a kid, her mum used to wake her up by trying to break her arm. Now maybe I misconstrued the words that were coming out of her mouth, but Ronda, if that is true, that is really weird. Ended when Nia Jax interrupted her and said, look, you go to Survivor Series, you beat Becky Lynch, you make sure you cement Raw as the dominant brand, but then me, Nia Jax, I'm waiting for you. No, I am not Nia Jax, I'm just doing this for effect. Back to the downs though, as then Nia turned heel, meaning she's approaching Big Show levels in terms of how much she jumps around. Down. Not only that, Brown down. It all started when she was fighting Ember Moon and beat her relatively easily, and then Tamina came out. I'm not trying to be horrible here, but no one in that arena cared, and I didn't care either, and I cared even less when, yes, Nia Jax and Tamina hugged. They beat up Ember Moon for a while and proved all these stare-offs they've had over the last few weeks have all been a big ruse, and they working in cahoots. I assume it's all going to tie into the women's tag team titles, which Stephanie McMahon has already announced will be coming to TV soon, and yeah, that's a pretty good team, but in terms of the build here, do I not give two hoots. Finn Balor then cut a promo and confirmed that yes, on this episode of Monday Night Raw, he will have another match with Bobby Lashley, and my heart just sunk because I don't need to see that again. It's getting it down. After that, though, we did have a stupid bit where Baron Corbin was so scared of Braun Strowman, he got in a car and pulled away as Strowman ran after him going, "Rah, my hands! Get my hands." I do have to point out, they didn't really time this very well, WWE, and you could physically see Strowman slow down so he wouldn't catch the car, but look, it was still fun seeing a giant man chase another rather tall man away in a vehicle. It was alright. It was then Lashley versus Finn, and I swear, between this and Crown Jewel, WWE is just trolling us. Down! It started with Lio Rush in the ring, and he told Lashley to show the crowd his new pose. And do you know what Bobby Lashley's new pose is? He bends over and he points to his ass. But he's not pointing to his ass, he's just showing off his glutes. I was genuinely stunned that not only had this been brought up in a writers' meeting, but it actually made it to TV. Then Bobby just beat Finn with his weird Dominator variation where he slams him down on his face. Obviously Lio Rush got involved through most of it, so Finn kind of gets a free pass. But I tell you, man, I don't ever need to see these two wrestle ever again. The aftermath, however, gets an up because Drew McIntyre is money. Up. In fact, I like him so much he can get golden up. He came out pretending to be there for Balor, but then turned his back on him, gave him a massive Claymore kick, and was like, "Who's the man? Who's the daddy? It's me, Drew McIntyre." We then moved into McIntyre versus Kurt Angle because, of course, Kurt was meant to be fighting Corbin, but he'd legged it, and because he is the GM, he said, no, Drew's going to take my place, and whoever wins that match can become the captain of the team. And once again, I'm a bit torn on this because much like this Raw in general, it was all a bit odd. However, Drew McIntyre not only beat Kurt Angle, he basically whipped his ass and made Kurt tap out to his own ankle lock. So from a Drew McIntyre point of view, I mean, it's just wonderful. He can use that for ages. Drew McIntyre can walk away going, "I beat the Olympic gold medalist, the veteran, the legend that is Kurt Angle." It's got to get up. But making Angle tap out and to his own move, especially because a few days prior, he'd lost so easily and effortlessly to Dolph Ziggler, that means we've had the return of Kurt Angle, and you know, flushed it down the toilet. As we always do here on Raw Ups and Downs, he got flushed down the toilet, now he's probably stuck in the drain. I guess it just felt like a bit of a throwaway, there was no big deal made out of this. When all was said and done, I was like, alright, Drew McIntyre beat Kurt Angle, and I feel like I should be reacting bigger to something like this. So it gets her down, and that brought it to an end. A very, very dull episode of Raw. There's no point in telling otherwise. Not a lot happened. The crowd didn't seem to care. And those 3 hours, I felt it today. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Raw. Like, share, and subscribe. Head on over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles, some about last night's Raw. And follow WhatCulture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you for everybody who joined me last week for Ups and Downs with Crown Jewel. Don't forget to join me tomorrow as we up those smack downs. See you soon.